We're back. It's the morning show. It's the TreeTrunk show. It's John, Serena, Will, and we're joined by the legend, the myth, the goat, Ira Rothkin. The morning show. How's it going, y'all?
And somebody didn't.
Will, by the legend, the myth, the goat, Ira Rothkin. The morning show. How's it going, y'all? There's a second window open. We found ourselves in this position a couple times. Oh, there we go.
Awesome.
The sound of silence.
We'll get it one day.
We will. But we have some amazing topics to talk about today. Ira, I know there's been a lot of things happening in the legal world. I love getting DMs from you with NFT related court cases. I would love to start with your thoughts on what's going on right now with this OpenSea kind of insider trading landmark case.
Well, it's actually morning here in California. I've got my Starbucks right here. We got to warm up if we go right into the main course right here. So I'm just going to take a drink of my Starbucks. And I thank you for joining my breakfast. This is my breakfast.
I got my apples here. I'm with you.
And thank you for actually allowing me to be on the show. My co-founders, Serena and John, created. And it was great. I finally got some airtime, by the way, Serena and John. I really appreciate that. How many months has it been? I think I actually won this agreement, Will, by the way. So, right. So with all that out of the way, it is great to be here. You guys have done an excellent job. I look forward one day to looking back on some of the folks that you've had on, guests that you've had on, the great artists. And I think some of these video streams will be memorable and historical for these people and for our company. So thank you very much for all that, Will and team. What's going on right now in the NFT ecosystem is something that I thought should have been going on about a year ago. It took about a critical mass for it to happen. But over the course of the last 2 months, we've had two major criminal indictments. We had one over what we would call the NFT ecosystem a rug pull for wire fraud. And that's an alleged federal crime. And then recently, in the past week or so, there's a person who used to work for OpenSea, who was the person who chose on the homepage what sort of NFT projects to feature. And the allegations in that indictment, I believe, are in the Southern District of New York, federal indictment, that's basically the FBI and DOJ, is that that person used their knowledge of what was going to be manifested on that homepage to essentially front run or buy ahead of time those NFTs and then sell them shortly after those NFTs would manifest, presumably because that event of appearing on the OpenSea homepage would boost the price of those NFTs. And that actually brings, there was a lot of, folks discussing this, but what it really does for us is it brings home a lot of issues that are buried there. There may be unintended consequences that arise out of that case. On one level, a lot of folks believe that I've spoken to that he should have done it. He should have done that. Okay? That seems like to some folks something that they don't want OpenSea doing. And so from that perspective, and I am changing my preferences as we speak in real time, so let me go ahead and do that. Give me 1 second. We're debugging this, folks, for anybody watching this in the future. Well, all right. For some reason, these new MacBooks, the screen goes dark too quickly.
Also, so for people who don't know Ira personally, that is actually how he sounds. That robot twinge to his voice, that's a natural thing.
That's very nice. That's nice. Anyway, so some people saying, well, wait a second, you know what? We don't want anyone doing that. And there are other folks saying, hey, the entire NFT ecosystem is nuts. Everyone front runs. In fact, front running is actually a technique in NFTs. You give NFTs to someone, they have them, And now they go ahead and evangelize it. So what? They go up in value, not because they go down in value. And sometimes people say it politically correctly. Well, I love the art. But many times the artists are cartoons. Of course you love the art. Everyone's cartoons. But generally speaking, it's because they go up in value. Or every single, many projects, people know what deals are coming down the line. And they know if something bad is going to happen, and maybe they dump. And they know something good's going to happen, and then they go ahead and they front run. They buy more. Maybe some, who knows? I don't know. Maybe folks who are involved somehow peripherally in the Bored Apes project. I don't know the folks, but I'm guessing. We know that when the ape coin was going to be dropped, so they buy them up more Bored Apes. That's front running. So what's the problem? It's the real problem that this indictment prints. And because when you read indictment, I have little doubt that those prosecutors are operating in good faith. Because again, what's going on, a lot of folks don't like. But what's really, really going on here in the indictment? They're using terms like, new tech, old crime. They're using terms that insider trading. And they're going through contortions. They're bending and twisting and doing everything they can. Let's make this like a security. Let's try to get whoever reads this indictment to believe, with use of terms like insider trading and confidentiality, let's get them to believe, ladies and gentlemen, that this is actually a security, but it's not. And if you go back and take a look at NFTs, there's a tension. You got some folks, and to be honest with you, there are a lot of folks who don't know what to believe. There are some folks who are wired in a way where right now they want to make them or believe that they're securities. That's fine. Like every other day, I may feel that way. And there are other folks who say, wait a second, an NFT is a token. It shows that you have a license. You have a copyright license anytime, sometimes a membership, sometimes other things, right to stream, whatever. Generally speaking, it is proof of existence of your copyright license. And therefore, NFTs arise out of the art world. And in the art world, can you create special companies that show art and make secret deals where they know later on, a year from now, they're going to feature an artist? They buy up all that artist's paintings. Can you do that? Yes, you can. That's the art world. So NFTs are partly in the art world where front running is a technique. You can get secret low bids. You can get secret guaranteed bids. You go to the wine parties. Why do you go to the wine parties? Because you want to hear the whispers about what that museum, the major museum in London or New York, is going to feature. You could buy that artwork or that artist's other artwork. So now you have a scenario where the OpenSea employee, and only he could speak to what his intentions are. But I imagine that there could be a set of intentions right here where he's thinking it would be disrespectful in some circumstances, or certainly inconsistent with the ethos of the ecosystem, for me to be involved in shooting artwork to feature and not standing behind it by buying it first or having at least one of them. It'd be disrespectful. And if it goes up, great. I've boosted the artist's artwork. I've helped my company because they're taking a percentage of whatever I'm buying. I'm using their platform. And other people can join in with me. I don't see allegations in the indictment that this person bought 100 pieces of works. And I certainly don't see any contractual language in the indictment that speaks to what the actual confidentiality was. And so there's competing, how should I say it, competing community norms. You got the art world norms, and then you have other folks' norms, maybe what I'll call crypto folks who may think, oh, wait a second. And I think there's some legitimacy. There's some things need to be securities. But we have a scenario where a person's liberty is at stake, where something could be considered a crime. What is the number one thing that you want to have from your government? You want to have a rule, an algorithm that you could follow, so you know how to conduct yourself. So there's no gotcha that takes away your liberty and shoves you in jail for many years. You want predictability, and that's exactly what the Constitution requires. They have a for vagueness doctrine. They have a rule of lenity. Lenity says if something can be interpreted in two different ways, you defer to give somebody the liberty. Now, this OpenSea employee, I would think, I'm not saying, one way or another where this is going to come out, but I would think that even if there's a confidentiality agreement, it's not specific. The mens rea, which has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, won't be able to be proven. Now, we'll see how this case evolves. But for me, they're using the kind of technique with wire fraud that you use in a securities context where someone's involved in real insider trading because the statute directly on point for folks who maybe write a column for the Wall Street Journal and ahead of time have friend family trade on that same stock. Bloomberg, and that was one in 2021, an indictment. But there is no misappropriation statute for art. Okay? And so you have this scenario right here where even if they go through contortions to say this is a security, and if it really, really is a security, then one would wonder whether or not this is merely a ruse to get this employee to flip to testify against OpenSea for basically creating the biggest racketeering scheme in the world because they're basically selling unlicensed securities. So if they want to argue it's a security, then one would wonder why they don't just go 5 feet over from the homepage and issue an indictment against the NFT ecosystem. Now, I'm not saying that they should. I don't think they should. In fact, I'd be very happy to defend that kind of case. Okay? In fact, by sitting here and indicting that, I would think is almost showing tacit approval to society that everything else about what was happening there with OpenSea passes muster. Or it would be what kindergartners would call the biggest neener in the entire world. So that is my opening statement with my Starbucks from California. Will, hello, John and Serena, and I'm happy to engage. What do you think, Will? Do you think I make sense?
I think you're making a ton of sense, and I think it's super complicated. And I'm so curious to know what happens with this case because I think you're making an amazing point, which is that I think there was a time where the NFT community was a community, and now it's kind of fractured where there's, one of one artists, there's 10K projects, there's play to earn NFTs, there's all these different types of projects. So to your point, putting them all under one category is a disservice. And then also to your point, if they go after him, how many other people are they going after next? We were in Clubhouse with a lot of people who were, some of the most famous NFT icons. Yeah, I don't want to name any names because I don't know what's going to happen to them if I do.
We know all those icons and the norms. The norms. I don't think I'm saying anything that's out of line. The norms are some people run rooms, they get NFTs. Some people run rooms, they're part of the project. They have all the information in their head about what's going on. There's even, what is his name? K-Money? You ever see K-Money, boy? He's hilarious, right? He did a video recently. I think Farouk was in it. We know Farouk, okay? And Farouk in this video, I think they filmed it at Gary Vee's thing. Farouk sits down and goes up to him. It's comedy for anyone watching this. It's totally funny. And says, buy this NFT, buy. And then K-Money goes ahead and starts buying it, and they show Farouk going off and selling them. Okay, the norms make something like this not misappropriation. One person's misappropriation is another person's support and love for the artist. And so you have a scenario where maybe you don't like it. Maybe you don't like what he did. But with criminal law, we don't use judge-made law. We don't let the judge judicially legislate. Oh, everyone, all of a sudden now an NFT is a security. The first thing you do if the judge does that is you appeal to the Second Circuit and you say, he didn't have notice of judge-made law before this case. Didn't know how to conduct himself. Followed the norms. And look, you just live in this ecosystem. I could tell you that a lot of artists won't even going to be featured on these platforms because featuring someone uses their right of publicity, right? Unless you buy some of their artwork or you pay them some money. And so for me, unless there's literally a policy, a contract directly on point, I don't even want to go near this employee doing something that arises to criminal conduct. And then if there is something on point, I'd want to know how it is that this reached any fiduciary duty, how it is that this hurt the employer who makes money off of each of these transactions, and how this is inconsistent with social norms in the NFT community today. You know, when you go right down to it, when you look through the indictment, you don't even see the word fiduciary in there. With securities cases that use wire fraud, you don't see it. And they talk about the agreement, but they don't cite the actual language of the agreement for confidentiality. But we actually know an agreement. We all know an agreement. It's for everyone to see between that employee and OpenSea. And that agreement is their terms of use. Because this is a weird scenario like Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal where they go to like an exchange and they buy something. There's no terms of use for that. Here, you have a scenario where OpenSea has these terms of use. And what do they basically say? What do they say to the sellers? That we will adore you with all sorts of guarantees and warranties about our conduct? Hell no. Hell no. They say you're using our set as is, that you can't sue us, that there's all sorts of risk involved because we're non-custodial on the blockchain. And that's for buyers and sellers. In other words, we're basically saying is that the risk here is so incredibly high that you don't even get the eBay warranty or guarantee. You get nothing. So all they have is the cash from this person and selling. And what terms of use? Will us at OpenSea will avoid conflicts of interest? No. Us at OpenSea will not have our employees purchase things on our platform? Well, that's not there. So, you know, I don't know what that OpenSea employees' lawyers are doing, and he's got great lawyers. I know those folks at Greg Trower. I think that's the firm, if I'm right. If I'm not, I apologize in advance. He's got a great law firm. I'm pretty sure they're going to make these arguments. In the Second Circuit, the circuit that he's in, there was case law a couple of years ago which basically said if you want to use wire fraud for a breach of an agreement, which here it's a confidentiality agreement, then you got to prove that he never intended to comply with that agreement at the time of signing. And why is that? Why do they have that rule? Well, because that's the only time really you can commit fraud. You're trying to trick somebody to get into an agreement so that you won't comply with it. After you get into the agreement, if you don't comply with it, is it called fraud? No, it's called breach of contract. And you know what courthouse you go for that? Not the criminal courthouse. You walk over a few yards away, and you go to the civil courthouse to get a civil remedy. And that's exactly what they could have gotten here. They could terminate them. They can get damages. They get an injunction, stop it. There's no reason to take away this person's liberty. I know I spent too much time on this, but you asked me, and I gave you the answer.
I think it's amazing. I'm sure there are many people in the space that are super curious about this, but don't have the expertise to understand it quite the way you do. So I'm really grateful. I'm going to bring it back around now and ask you, how do you think cases like this set up TreeTrunk? Is this, do you think, a positive or a negative with the launch around the corner? Do you think that, I think it's a good thing, but I'm curious what you think.
I think that Serena and John, and look, we all work for Joe Lubin, who's one of the co-founders of Ethereum, and he's given us a lot of ability to go out and innovate. My views are not the views of TreeTrunk or John and Serena, although based upon their nod and whatever, they probably do agree with me. This is not an official view. I know we're on the TreeTrunk thing. This is just me being a lawyer and tech nerd, okay? For TreeTrunk, we've baked in, we could, in a risky space, to try to protect the integrity of intellectual property. So if someone wants to infringe and then basically say, I'm an anarchist, I want to infringe, we're going to say, this is not the platform for you. This is not it. Okay? We do things, we use heuristics. We're not going to go ahead and expose all the things we do because we don't want to give anyone a roadmap to how to bypass those processes. And will bypass those processes, and we have ways of taking things down. So it is a decentralization with responsibility. What I would say is responsible. The responsibility always lies with the operators and the artists or folks who want to do bad things. So that's the first thing. There is a massive bug in the current NFT ecosystem. It infects almost every single major project. And I call that the consent gap. And tell me if you agree with me. You go to a major platform, you want to buy a generative art NFT because you want to be part of you want to be a member. You want to be a builder as part of the community. And so you go buy one of those things. And for love of God, you look around and you say to yourself, what are the terms for this? I don't mean the OpenSea terms. They're everywhere. I mean, what's my deal with the project? What's my deal with the NFT project? And you look around. You're buying artwork, but you don't know, like, what do I get? How many shows do I go to? When can I go to a concert? When can I go to a gigantic arena in Minneapolis? I mean, I could use intuition and logic and maybe find it. And that's the consent gap. The NFT projects don't have an easy, consistent way to manifest what their rules, their licenses are, their terms and conditions, even their privacy policy. And so legal nerds look and say, well, what is the rule for getting consumer or buyer notice and consent on the internet? And you Google notice and consent, click wrap, shrink wrap, whatever you want to call it. I've litigated a lot of these things, by the way. But we'll call it a click wrap agreement. What's the rule? And the rule right now in most jurisdictions is you have to get clear and conspicuous notice of the licensing terms and opt-in consent. So that means that you can't put it on the bottom of the web page and give what's known as constructive notice. It doesn't mean that you write something next to submit button saying you agree with our terms and you don't provide a link. It means that by hitting the submit button, you agree the terms and the term used in the privacy policy found here with a link and an empty box. And if someone tries to click on that submit, it fails until that box is checked. and you capture that. Get the date, the time, and the IP address. Now you have clear and conspicuous notice and consumer consent. If they choose not to read it, generally speaking, the court's fine. That's on someone else. So now you compare that requirement for an NFT license with what's going on. I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere. Some folks are very inventive and they shove it into like a description below the fold on OpenSea. Some folks put it on their own website and then have a link to their website on OpenSea. But that's not clear conspicuous notice and opt-in consent. So can I argue the other way? Yes, I can. Give me the facts and circumstances of a particular case, I will argue that to you. And I've done that. Okay? You know, obviously, if someone is pounding the hell out of the other website and you're grabbing their IP address, you're allowed to walk into court and basically say, that would be good, but this is not the right to argue that, Your Honor. This person was one of the largest pingers of a website in the history of websites, okay? And the court goes, all right. Generally speaking, notice and consent. The metadata that's typically found on the JSON file and IPFS for NFTs typically does not have a link with 721 NFTs, the OpenSea kind, Rarible, typically doesn't have a link to
This
the
is
licensing.
explaining to me why you spent so much effort during product development for TreeTrunk, just hammering us on this. And you know, as a not lawyer, I'm like, what? Like, no, it's got to be right here. I mean, you were very detailed about that, and right down to
computer
like the
science.
IPFS page. And I think you were like, can we get this supported in a MetaMask API? And I'm like, alcohol MetaMask. I think that you would probably be advocating. All of our MetaMask friends out there, I think call up Ira and have a conversation about what
We're going to
MetaMask
talk
could do
some
for
more.
this problem.
We will talk more to our MetaMask siblings about this. Do have things that manifest within their API and within their interface. And MetaMask is the leading wallet, in my view, in the world. And they got to lead with compliance orientation. So what we did on the TreeTrunk side, after I annoyed our entire team, was we included with the NFT. It
For good
follows the
reason.
NFT. The metadata, we need to have the link literally on the landing page of the NFT, juxtaposed to the NFT, which is a vast improvement over the current state of the art. It may seem like a small issue, but it's a big issue. And why is it a big issue? May we jump to other cases going on NFTs, Will? It's a big issue because there's a lot going on with people saying they've been hacked, they've been this, they've been that, and I've lost my NFTs. And what do the courts and lawyers do the second that there's a controversy over who owns a license to NFTs? Well, you want to know the facts. What is the actual rule base you look at? I'm a computer scientist. And by the way, if you're a computer scientist, you love law because law is a set of algorithms. I want to go to the algorithm, the rule set for what happens, and the first rule set I'm going to go to is the contract. That's the set of algorithms that tell you how you decide things. Sometimes they're not enforceable, sometimes they are, but that's where you start. And then in doing that, I have found that a lot of the contracts may never be enforceable. And the consequences are substantial. It could hurt the buyer because they're only as good as an implied contract, and those can be quickly eviscerated or changed, modified in many circumstances. And it doesn't help the project. The collector would go, hey, collector, I have millions of dollars in NFTs. And you'd go to an expert, say, art world type of thing. Can you give me an appraisal of all this for reasons that's super annoying and complicated, taxes and this and that, okay? You know, you got to do that. Got to be compliance oriented. And then they go and they basically say, if they do a good job, I don't know if this agreement's enforceable. I know what the markets is right now. But 10 years from now, everyone figures out that maybe some of these aren't enforceable, will it plummet? Will it go down in price? So we're fixing as much as we can with TreeTrunk. We're working with our sister company over at MetaMask. And if you're watching this, fix consent gap. It really matters. You know, you have these projects that are going on right now where people, generally speaking, in the NFT ecosystem, not everyone, but the vast majority are getting non-exclusive personal use licenses. All right? And these license agreements matter. Some of them include commercial rights. Some of them try to include commercial rights, but when you read through them, they're distorted and blunderbuss. Okay? They're not good. They're not well written. You know what the hell you could do with it. You know, is it t-shirts? What happens when when I sell my NFT? Do these licenses expire like in the video game industry? You know, when the video game industry, when license expires, it's game over. You're allowed to keep your inventory of CDs or whatever, but you got to shut down everything else. And in the old days, we used to have them like 10 in 1 packs. When you saw something in a 10 in 1 pack, it meant their license ended and they had to sell off the remaining CDs. So they'd print up a whole bunch of them during the license period, and then they would get rid of their inventory. So the state of the industry right now is vulnerable because there's an incent gap. And that leads to something where people don't understand this yet, too. You go to an appraiser. You say, appraiser, in the art world, what's my NFT worth? Now, if the appraiser looked at real characteristics, real factors that mattered, they wouldn't be looking at like just OpenSea's index. They'd be going to own the IP. Well, non-exclusive license, but okay, fair enough. Maybe you own enough of that license so that could be a collectible, and that's very important. But I've not seen anyone look yet at 17 USC 203, which is the copyright termination statute. And that's the Paul McCartney statute, if you want to Google this. That means that after about 35 years, whether you're a recording artist or a fine artist or a crap artist, if you do certain things within 5 years or 35 years, you terminate your licenses, you get copyrights back. Now, Congress created that mostly with an eye on young recording artists and with a partial eye on young fine artists. The young recording artists, generally speaking, would have no leverage in the recording area, usually Holly, not always. So they would have a flat fee, they become really famous, and they turn around one day and find out, oh my God, I'm famous and broke. So they said, you know what, we're going to give you a good retirement. So 35 years after you have this copyrighted work manifest, we're going to give a chance to get it back under certain circumstances. There's all sorts of ways to hack it. I'm not going to get into that. But if you look through, you Google copyright termination and music and recording, you'll see all these artists lining up, successfully getting their copyrights back. I think there's even an issue right now with this latest Top Gun movie where the screenwriter is suing because he or she terminated and is claiming they're infringing. And so now, how does that affect the licensed NFT? You know, all these folks are our friends. Can I to them and like honestly ask them, hey, how do I collect you and get a license? And that license could expire or even get your copyright. This applies to copyrights. And then they're going to say, what are they going to say? Well, they're going to say, don't worry, I'll waive it. Then what is yours truly going to say back to them? Oh, I forgot to tell you, there's an anti-waive part of the copyright termination. So you can't even waive it if you wanted to. If you needed $1 million for medical care, and I wanted you to waive it for that $1 million. You couldn't do it. You just get it back. Because that's what
So
people tried to do. They tried to do that. They said, oh, no problem. We have the copyright termination. We'll just put a waiver here. You hereby waive it. And you know what Congress said? Uh-uh.
So does that mean that we should be writing these smart contracts governing a particular NFT? I mean, we could even do this in the
we're not going to do this.
EIP
John, we're not
4910.
going to do it to client advice over podcast, but there are ways to hack it that we're not going to mention right now on this podcast.
Yeah, no, okay, fair enough. But in general, I mean, is the implication of this that smart contracts in general should have a thing in there where the code actually says, hey, 35 years has occurred.
No,
although can't do that.
No, no, because they don't have to terminate it. They may enjoy the benefits of whatever the agreements are and maintain them. And then 5 years after that, it's game over. They can't terminate. So you can't make a decision for them ahead of time. And here's another one.
But then wouldn't that mean by default that if I'm holding an NFT and that NFT claim is a claim of rights,
I didn't say copyright.
If I'm saying that, yeah, but if that were the case, wouldn't that mean that I lose those rights according to that law? At least in the Happy Path case.
Look, 35 years from now, pretty old. Statistically, the odds I will not be here, so I could say this, right? But there may be an argument that certain other NFTs could be terminable at will, based upon how these agreements are written, even if it's not their intention. There's other provisions. There's other issues here where it's not beyond the pale that a court one day will find that the entire industry is involved in deceptive business practices by calling things perpetual and persistent because people have the expectation that when they buy an NFT, they own it. I think actually the major projects actually says you own it. And it could be that they do own it if they did the right hacks. I'm not going to get into that. But there's going to be folks, maybe folks who watch this video, who will take the lens of what I'm saying. I'm going to lay over what's going on. And they'll say, in some instances, everything's great. In other instances, something's misleading. And if you put me in front of a judge and wind me up, I can argue both sides of a very important issue. And that is, Your Honor, these smart contracts are persistent. They go on forever. But, and the content is stored on IPFS, which goes on forever. But having a smart contract go on forever may very well be a deceptive business practice when a termination right is impaired. And so now what do you have? A collision between what I'll call Web 2, which is having logic on demand, and persistence and trustlessness of the blockchain, which is not very well suited for turning things on and off 35 years later. Could be done. We have things that we're cooking up, by the way, which I'm not going to mention right now, which could address these things. And that's what makes, in my view, TreeTrunk superior platform. And other folks will probably do it too. But if not careful under the current state of the art for NFTs, giving folks persistent smart contracts for licensing or ownership that's designed to go and impair, when it's applicable, the termination rate would seem to be a collision where that somebody may be involved in deception to consumers in certain circumstances, and impacts valuation, because even if everyone says, oh, no one's ever going to do that, it would be antagonistic to our estate to do that. Some people are going to do it. And that uncertainty. Now, why is that in the regular art world that doesn't happen? Because the first sale doctrine is in play, and you can't get physical artwork back if you're the artist. This is not physical artwork. So we're using copyright licenses, NFTs, and ecosystem work. You can terminate licenses under certain circumstances under termination statute, copyright termination statute. You can't get physical artwork back. The first sale doctrine, in some ways, is superior collectability. So long as, of course, physical artwork doesn't degrade. Digital.
I love how masterfully you were able to bring it back to TreeTrunk being the superior place. I was thinking about that while you were going, but Ira, this is I would love to see you in court, man. I can't
Likewise.
wait. Maybe rephrase that.
I would love to in the public section.
I wouldn't love to see Ira in court unless he was on my side.
I know,
I've got my. This is not an endorsement, but yeah.
No. If you see Ira in court, he better be on your side of the.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you, these days, I'd rather be playing pickleball.
Love that. Love that. Well, I think we've made it to an amazing point where we can, talk about some of the wonder that is TreeTrunk. We're about 2 days away from the mainnet, right? Do we have any updates? Are you all mid panic attack while we're talking right now, just in anticipation?
Not mid panic attack, but we are very excited. I will be at Consensus 2022. So if anybody's watching this and will also be there, would love to see you there. But we will be joined by, or not joined by, but we will be doing the mainnet launch. And we are super, super excited. We've got Vimal Chandran, Ishita Banerjee, Carmila Sumantri, Crypto Jeweler, Brandon Bro. I know that I'm forgetting one person.
That's just Thursday.
Yeah, that's just Thursday. And so we are beyond excited. And then we will be leading up towards the GA launch at NFT NYC, where we'll be partnering with Logic, and we'll be launching at Sugoi, which means wow in Japanese. And wow, we are excited. So we hope to see you all there. And then next week we'll have more information, but we have 5 speaker slots for NFT NYC. So we hope to see you all there as well. And we may or may not have a TreeTrunk exhibition coming up.
I'm pulling up the link to get a ticket.
I actually have not heard from NFT NYC on where and when I'll be speaking. So I may just be going as a VIP to get all the benefits.
I don't think anybody's heard.
I don't think anybody has.
That's
yeah,
okay.
I've had a lot of people reach out to me to see if I've heard back yet. I have not heard back, but I know it's coming. And then, for the GA launch, we'll also have Rob Mars, Richard Jacobs, Robbie Trevino, Julie Pacino, Sabette, Maddie Moe, Blaine Thurier, Diego Barrow, and Nyla Hayes.
Nyla Hayes.
Very
You know what I'm going to do?
Wow.
I'm gonna treat this like I'm going to Disneyland, and you don't have those little books with the stickers in or whatever. I'm going to try getting everyone's autograph, because all these different artists to me, these are amazing names, Serena.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an amazing rollout. I can't wait to see everybody in person. And Will, are you coming?
I will be there. And
you'll be part of Posse?
I will be part of the posse. I'll be chasing autographs.
Family.
We should have a vlog together where we try and track down the signatures and the autographs of our favorite artists together.
God, that's genius. Let's do that. Let us do that, Will. God almighty, look at
It's I can't find the
and I
the
just remembered
link.
It was Arabella Proffer, who will also be
course.
launching on the mainnet launch. Cannot
On
believe
Thursday.
that was the name that I did not include there.
So Thursday's
She gets her
a
own
soft
special
launch.
shout-out.
You will be able to buy those pieces and mint, create new prints and reprints and sell them and earn royalties, all for real ETH on Polygon ETH. We're dropping some Matic so that you don't have to worry about gas fees until you get used to the platform. It should be buttery smooth and easy to get your MetaMask over to. And all you have to do is go to the website, click on login, and it'll kick you over to Polygon. It'll kick you over. It's really, really easy. And then,
John, you know what comes up when I hear stuff where obviously using Ethereum and we work for Joe Lubin and Consensus Mesh, but we are doing so much stuff on Polygon Matic, and we're basically on their side chain. Do you think it's possible if they watch this one day, they will at least give us hoodies that say Polygon on it? So when we walk around NFT NYC, Will could look
I
really,
think
really
we
with their
won't have a problem
hoodies
getting
back.
hoodies.
They're giving us nothing right now. Maybe that will change one day. We love Polygon, but I want to get at least a hoodie or a shirt with their logo on it so I could say I've gotten something for just basically dedicating our entire technology to the Polygon ecosystem. You think that's possible?
Well, let's talk about that. So, I mean, the first step, first things first, right? Baby steps. This is going out to the mainnet, Polygon. As people may know, the EIP 4910 draft NFT standard that we're introducing is just too big for a mainnet like Ethereum. So that's why we do this on L2s, and it's why you haven't seen a royalty collection and distribution contract before, because it would have been impractical on the mainnet. Talk about CryptoKitties. This would CryptoKitties would have been like CryptoKitties after two kitties with these kinds of contracts. So it's fundamentally an L2 kind of layer 2 kind of technology, and now that layer 2s are a thing, we can do that. But what are the other layer 2s, and what are the other things like Palm, for example? Palm's an Ethereum EVM blockchain, public permissioned as they call it, for NFTs like the Batman cowls. Putting our stuff on Palm would be trivial. So what are the next? Anything that's an EVM based blockchain can run EIP 4910 drive. So that's so Polygon is great because they were the first one. We like them a lot, and good friends, and they have been very supportive, including helping with they've got a normal Matic program that we took advantage of, and they've mentioned us in keynote speeches from their CEO. So I think that we love the guys over at Polygon. We've been good friends for years. Good friend of Consensus, and but that's just the start.
Ira, we're gonna get you that hoodie.
I guess to a certain extent, I had to be self-deprecating. I'm also waiting for us to have TreeTrunk hoodies. And so maybe that's something that we have to put on our agenda. Because how do you go to NYC? By the way, I was born essentially right near where this is being held. I'm in California for many, many years. How do you go during and not have like hoodies to walk around in with your logo on it?
Can we get hoodies without the hoods? I mean, I used to go to my favorite swag ever was the Linux Foundation's event, and I don't know, it must have been 2014 or 15, and they were the most beautiful fleeces, and it didn't have a hoodie, and I can't find anything like that anymore.
I have one, and Mark Andreessen really liked this. It was so long ago. It was from the 1990s with Netscape Navigator. I have a hood. It was super high end, no hood, collar, Netscape Navigator, the logo. I still have it. Maybe I'll wear it in New York.
I was gonna say TreeTrunk polos, maybe cardigans. We might have to take it a step up.
Well, you'll be involved in the design process.
So I'm down. I'm here for it.
So long as you don't own any of it.
Yeah.
I can see our logo with a little treehouse in there.
I was thinking with Will in there somewhere, like stitched in underneath the little goose egg.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, if anybody wants to sign up, probably the fastest thing, go to my I think my Twitter, and the TreeTrunk Twitter has the I've got it pinned at the top of my Twitter thing. So Jay Wolpert, and you can get the direct link to the Ethereum. Serena's having trouble with her computer. I can't find the short link. Yes. But if you're looking at the chat, it's in there. I'll put it up real quick just in case anyone wants to copy that big monster down.
I
but
love that.
I love the contrast of it. Actually, it looks like pop-up videos from MTV did.
Oh yeah, right. Go to Jay Wolpert on Twitter, and it's right at the top of my profile, and you can you can get access to the event on the 22nd, starting at what time again, Serena?
4 p.m.
4 p.m. Be
Are we
there
doing
with
I look
some of the greatest
forward to
artists.
I look forward to this.
Gonna be amazing. Are we doing a drop party? Are we doing a clubhouse style drop party on June 9th for the mainnet launch? I feel like there needs to be some sort of social media celebration happening.
I think each of the artists are doing
let's do
quite
it.
a bit, and but it really until the June 22nd, it's really about the artists. We're soft launching the platform, so it will be on mainnet, but we're not going to
I don't
be
know,
doing
Will.
big press releases and stuff like that until
So
NFT
we shouldn't
NYC.
have a gigantic Twitter Spaces or a Clubhouse room. All right.
Oh,
All right.
can
We'll just,
absolutely do that.
we'll just remain
Do
below
improv
that.
too. It'll be a sneak drop for those who know. The people who listen to this episode, they'll know it's coming. We'll just pop
All right.
up midnight.
By the way,
midnight,
if it's
24-hour room.
coming by design. If it's not coming when you think it should be coming, it's intentional. All right. All
Well,
right.
we've made it to the top of what is that Garrison Keeler used to say? Or Lake Wobegon. You've made it to the top of another hour.
Well, anytime you guys want, I love coming on here. I love talking law. I'm happy on a moment's notice. If you ever want to ask me what's something everyone should know that they don't know about law in the NFT ecosystem, I'm happy to answer that question whenever you guys want. So thank you for having me.
Anytime there's a new legal case in NFTs, I think we need to do special edition shows and just because that was awesome. Like I think more people need to hear that information, and I'm so curious to know where these cases go. But I'm super grateful, y'all, and I'm so excited that June 9th, 2 days away, the world of NFTs changes forever for the better.
Absolutely.
It will change for the better, and we look forward to it. And we want all the feedback. Feel free to hack everyone. Tell us what's good and bad, and then we take that seriously and go back to our entire team, and we'll try fixing what we can, and obviously manifesting the good parts, more often. So thank you very much, everyone.
Ira, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been really great to hear your insights and your thoughts on everything.
Thank you.
Hey, you know what? Before we go, I know this is unusual and going long here, but if I tell you what, if anybody needs to drop, go ahead and drop. But I think I will share screen and show a preview of what folks are going to want to, or what the marketplace is going to look like on Thursday. Would you like that?
I would love that.
Okay, let me just do it real quick.
I would only partially love it because I've seen
it. So this is really, and we're actually going to colorize these so that the OG level here at the top, this is if you own this print, that means you own the original piece of art, and you're probably the creator unless you've sold that to somebody unwisely, perhaps. And the background for this will be black, so you'll know at a moment's notice. At least this will be at the GA on the 22nd, if not on Thursday. These will be black, and the next will be in a gold color, so you know that if you own oops, I think my screen sharing is not working now. If you own the next generation, it'll be gold and then silver and so on, and so you'll know what generation level you're at. But I really like that the presentation of it, so you can know exactly what level in the hierarchy you're at, and whether or not it's and what's above you, what's below you, what's for sale, what's not for sale, and how much inventory is possible and how much inventory is out there already.
Is it possible? Cool. Is it possible for someone to buy the first generation? Like if they make an artist a good enough offer, can they get that black tier, that top level?
Sure, but it'd be kind of like Bob Dylan selling out rights to his earnings, right? So, which he actually, I think he did recently.
He did. He did do that.
So it'd be kind of like that. I mean, again, NFTs should not be thought of as digital sales receipts masquerading as pieces of actual art that are trying to convince you that Serena's going to buy it from you for more later. I don't know if it's legal or not. I just don't like that model. It creeps me out, frankly. I don't know. I'm from Michigan. We're conservative. So that's how I feel, right? I like the much better thinking of NFTs as codified, well publicized, public writs of claims of rights. I have a right to collect royalties. I am giving you a right to make copies and sell them under certain circumstances, and and so on. So I like thinking of
Well,
NFTs as rights management, and so you're not selling the art, you're not selling your original Rembrandt, you're selling your rights.
well, there's so many ways to look at it that we even have differences on our team. And John's perfectly appropriate in the way he's saying. In fact, most people probably agree with him. I like to look at it in a metaphorical way to the real art world, where the wholesalers, first the artist makes the artwork, then for photographs or Neiman's or whatever, they have wholesalers. Those wholesalers sell to galleries. So when I go down to the tourist area of San Francisco, I can buy Neiman serigraph, or I go to New York. And then, of course, you have collectors. And with TreeTrunk, the artist gets to pick how they want to prune or make their tree. They can have a one of one. They can have one line. They can have 4 levels. We max out at 4 levels. 4 levels, arguably, would be a rough metaphor for how the in real life art world works already, with that kind of multiple levels.
But
And the only difference,
democratized, where you don't have to be like this old
the only
well-heeled
difference,
gallery, but just anybody could be that.
the only difference would be that the first sale doctrine, generally speaking, didn't allow for artists to make royalties on their works. And now with NFTs, they can. And that's what TreeTrunk provides. So that's kind of like, another way to look at it.
And we do shows, by the way, on Mondays and Wednesdays. So if you ever want to come and talk about your artwork and share your art and learn more about TreeTrunk, we do this every Tuesday morning, but we're also on Twitter Spaces. Serena and I vibing out. So please feel free to come. And I'll say, Ira, I don't know if you remember the foundation kind of scandal where they weren't willing to talk to people on Clubhouse, but how interesting is it? Here we are, fast forwarding a new platform, literally, like you said, like open for criticism, open for praise. But it's one of the things that I love the most too, is that you are so transparent and like willing to kind of put your necks out for the community. Serena does it every day with me on Twitter Spaces, and it's really appreciated from my side, as I'm sure it is for other artists as well. It's super needed and super appreciated.
Thank you so much, Will. I'm so happy to be on it with you as well. We love you at TreeTrunk.
It's mutual. Ira, go ahead, man. Do you want to walk us out today? Are you down to be our final words of the episode?
I also just wanted to say very quickly before Ira comes in with our outro, just wanted to let everyone know, please subscribe to the channel. We would love to have more subscribers. So please do that. Go ahead, Ira.
I'm going to say that right now, the 721 NFT standard has served the community very, very well. Very flexible. We looked at the 721 standard. We're working with one of the co-founders of Ethereum, Joe Lewin. He has given our team, a very talented team of engineers, and us folks over here, me less so, but no less, given us a lot of leadway to make a better NFT. We believe we've done that, but we do nothing without the community. So we want your feedback, and we want to constantly improve this, because this is really about empowering artists and the community to give all of you what you want. And so, if we look at what's happened in NFT NYC, look at the 721. No one knew when really that started. I did, but nerds. And to a certain extent, the passionate nerds are going to know when we're starting 4910, which has been happening slowly. But if you want to look for a great opportunity to be part of innovation, get involved right now. So one day, a year from now, 2 years from now, you could be an OG on 4910. You could have dropped an NFT in June or July and been one of the very, very first. And that, like a Bored Ape or whatever, will stay with you. It's ingrained in the blockchain. You could show proof of nerdiness. of innovation, POI, okay? By showing that you made a 4910 and you were involved in collecting 4910s at the very, very, very start. And I do believe that's going to be something that will be historical. I'm glad I'm going on the ride with my teammates, and thank you, Will. But I really think it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. And so I'm asking all of you, get involved right now so we can go on this ride together.
That's a hell of an end to a show. Let's go, y'all. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.